When I want to create a rubber stamp, the first thing I do is trace the size of my carving material, which is in this case an eraser, onto a piece of tracing paper. And then I transfer my design onto the tracing paper with a soft pencil. And what I mean by that is a 2B or softer pencil. Anything with a B at the end is softer. And you'll see why I need to do that right now. I'm going to take the tracing paper and I'm going to put it face down on the smooth side of the eraser, making sure that it fits on the edges. And then I'm going to use my bone folder. You could use your fingernail or a flat side of a ruler. And I'm just going to rub the back of the design. And because erasers are meant to take pencil, the pencil comes off the tracing paper and transfers onto the eraser reversed. And that's going to be important, especially if you have a stamp that has lettering or a distinct design. By reversing it when we carve it, it will reverse back when you stamp it later. I'm just using a Sharpie to go around the edges of these, because if I'm handling the stamp a lot, the pencil lines come off, and some of them haven't transferred exactly, so I'm just going to fill those in there. When I carve this inner detail here, I just want a thinnish line, so I'm just going to put a very positional mark here rather than the right thickness. And now I'm ready to carve. I like to use a scalpel because I like the shape of the handle and the shape of the blade, but you can use any craft knife for this and just make sure it's sharp and clean. And I'm going to start by trimming off the excess eraser because I can use that piece to carve another stamp. And when I am taking the edges off, the excess off, I want to carve so that my knife is on an angle and that I'm carving a shoulder, sort of if this is my design, then I want this to slant outwards so that it makes a stronger stamp. And I'm just going to take off that outer edge first. Now, if you wish, you can carve your stamps so that you only carve down a little bit and leave a more of a shoulder there. I've taken to just carving off all of the excess. It's a faster way for me to carve, and it doesn't affect the quality of the stamp at all. You can see I'm taking off quite large chunks along the outside first and doing that quite quickly. When I come back in to refine the edge, I am taking less off and working a little slower. So now that I have the basic shape done, I am going to take out these internal shapes. I've got my knife on a tilt, and I'm just going to take out a very fine, thin line there. It's going to be a V groove. I've tilted my knife that way to cut along that side, turn the eraser, and I'm cutting this way with the same tilt, and then we can just lift that section out. Still caught a little bit here, so I'm just going to go back in and Make sure I'm all the way through at the end. And then I'll do the same for the other inside line. Those don't have to be very deep. I'm just using a dye-based pad, but even if I was using a chalk pad, it wouldn't fill in those channels that I've cut. Make sure I'm loose at that end, and then peel that out. Now the next thing I need to do is to proof my stamp, and what that means is I just am going to ink it and stamp it, and that will help me see where there's rough edges and parts that I want to refine. So when I look at this, I can see that this edge here has a little bit of a roughness, and that's got a little bit of a blip there. Remember, the stamp's reversed, so this mark that's here is actually on that side of the stamp. So let me just quickly go back in and refine that a little bit. And this shape that's in here didn't cut out completely there, and so I'm looking here on the stamp and I can see that I need to go back in here and take that out. And the refining part, you can work on just a little bit and re-ink and re-stamp and continue until you think it's looking better. Now I want to find this section here and work on that. You can actually see, you can still see the Sharpie there, so I need to go back in and just slowly remove the excess there. Likely if I removed it to the point where I couldn't see the Sharpie, this stamp would look great. I can actually see that I've carved out a little bit there, so I'm just going to do that, and then I'll stamp it again. So this is a slow procedure just to get it all cleaned up, but it's getting very close.